Justin Marshall first up, the All Black backline to talk about 1:20 time. And Marshy, before we get on to anything else, I've just done the weather forecast, mate. It is snowing down there. Are the ski fields pumping or not?
Yeah, no, unfortunately not, Marty. They're still looking a bit grim. They've only managed to get Coronet open in the last few days, and that's only one trail. But I got a pretty good view of it, and put it this way, for a guy that skis like me, I wouldn't want to be falling over. That's for sure, because there's not enough base there. I think Remarkables is only working with one run, possibly only two. So, yeah, unfortunately for the Aussies who have been here a week now and in their second week of school holidays and the start of New Zealand school holidays. Yeah. It's not the bumper snow that everybody was hoping for just yet.
Come on, New Zealand, get it together. This is what we need, isn't it? We need our tourists coming back. I mean, you'll notice it in where you live. I mean, is the place thriving again, or are there lots of different nationalities walking around?
Absolutely, there is. Yeah, no, quite a broad degree of different nationalities here. The town is really busy, but unfortunately, the snow is not providing them the entertainment during the day now, so all that does is clog up everything else.
Right.
But I guess that's good for the hospitality industry, isn't it? But people are still persevering with the conditions. They're taking it for what it is, and many are still trying to get up the mountain and get a little bit of skiing in.
All right, well, it's kind of the lull week in our rugby season. I know the Black Ferns played last week. They were mighty damn excellent, weren't they, winning 50-0? But the in-between bit is Super Rugby, and when we get into the Rugby Championship. So thanks very much for your time, because I want to ask you a couple of things. Before we get on to what your thoughts are on this All Black backline with both Leicester and Will Jordan staying home. Finally, World Rugby seems to have been able to coordinate, or whether it's just the Six Nations and SANZAAR doing it ourselves, a tournament that's going to be the in-between years of the Rugby World Cup, where the Six Nations side, 4 of us, and then a couple of invitees. It sounds good. It sounds like a great concept. What are your thoughts? I'm hoping it gets off the ground.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, I think it's what the game needs. I don't even feel that the word globalisation really needs to factor into it. I think what needs to happen is we need to see a side of rugby that we haven't seen before. We need to give the fans and supporters and people out there an opportunity to see a competition or contests that they just haven't seen and are not repetitive. To reinvigorate everybody, including the players, like the fact that players get to experience something different, format-wise, competition-wise, whatever it might be. I think the fact that the Crusaders have now got this opportunity in February to go out and play Munster and play the Bristol Bears, that's just fantastic for the game, and it's not the repetition that we've become used to. So absolutely, I like the idea that SANZAAR have come up to. Hopefully, and it looks like it's going to happen, it will all formulate into a really competitive, good tournament, and then a final with the two best sides competing in that. So, yeah, mate, I'm all for it. I'm all for innovation and change big time.
Justin, just as a thought there, Crusaders going up and playing these sides. Munster won the URC, ladies and gentlemen, and they knocked out a couple of big boys that actually, I think they knocked out Leinster, who played La Rochelle in the Champions final, didn't they? So, how good are the Crusaders compared? I mean, we don't know, but I mean, just your thoughts looking at it. Would the Crusaders beat these teams?
Oh, I think they'd be very competitive games. No doubt the pedigree of both of these sides, who have been, top league performers over a number of years, very well coached, good cattle in their sheds. So they're very good prospects for the Crusaders to take on. It'll be a good time of the year. Yes, they'll be hardened, they'll be seasoned in February, and they would have been already through 3 or 4 months of play, but equally the Crusaders will be fresh, reinvigorated, rejuvenated, and they'll be, again, taking on players and in environments and stadiums against competition they've never faced before. If you can't get up for that, you can't get up for anything. Are the Crusaders capable of beating them? Absolutely they are. But talk about walking to the fire. We were chatting last week, Marty, weren't we, about the reins that Rob Penny's got to pick up from Scott Robertson. Well, he walked straight into 2 very difficult games that the whole world will be watching, mate. They really will be. Like, it's something we haven't seen before. Don't we want to tune in and see these sides go at it against, Southern Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere, the best in the business? He's not getting a little couple of warm friendlies down in, the Maniatoto against the Highlanders or anything. He's straight into it.
Yeah, I love it. And I also think that it's going to be quite patriotic. I mean, this is a New Zealand team. All of a sudden, the Crusaders representing New Zealand against the best of the best up there, which is absolutely brilliant. Justin Marshall with his 81 Test vet for the All Blacks on the sideline for Sky Sport. Well, the team will be announced, I think, Friday morning New Zealand time. But with the news over the weekend that both Leicester, Fainga'anuku and Will Jordan didn't catch the plane, I'm a worry. This Will Jordan thing is really concerning to me. I don't feel we've ever had it fully explained as to exactly what this injury is and what the perhaps concussive effects are. But for the guy to be playing that final, then not be able to be fit enough to go to Argentina, is that a concern for you?
Yeah, I think unless it's precautionary, and they are using that word, aren't they? That they feel that the volume that he got after coming back from the problems that he had, and then obviously found his way back into some very good form. Any player when they're in good form and get an opportunity to pull on the All Black jersey would want to do that. So it looks to me a bit of macro managing for a guy that they're probably going to use a lot at the Rugby World Cup. I'm not sure of the extent of it, so it's pretty hard to comment.
Yeah.
But it would be a concern if they were saying that it wasn't precautionary, that he actually needs to stand down. But I think they're probably just being proactive in that regard. Obviously, you mentioned Leicester Fainga'anuku, who I thought could possibly have been getting a start. Well, that won't be happening now. And then you throw into the mix as well, Marty, Anton Leonard-Brown, who's down through suspension, and equally Mark Taylor, who's not available. Probably a quite different side than what Ian Foster was expecting to name as his test of the year, given the problems that he has injury-wise.
Well, let's look at that backline then and agree or disagree. I think Aaron and Richie are 9 and 10. We agreed on that?
We are agreed, yeah.
Okay. 12 and 13, I think are going to be Geordie and Rico, and we can debate whether or not Rico's had a great Super Rugby season because he perhaps hasn't, but Geordie's been playing at 12 for a good reason for the Hurricanes. So I think that's 12 and 13 in concrete.
Yeah, and equally they're the incumbents. So they've got to be given their opportunity to retain their shirts. They were the pairing preferred last year. And given, like I said, the injuries and Anton Leonard-Brown now out of the mix as well, and the possibility that Fainga'anuku could have been looked at centre, that's not going to be happening. I agree with you. They will be the centre combination.
Well, let's just pause for here before we get on to the back three then, which is obviously going to be, I think, the selections that we'll all debate. How important is it to you? And being a past All Black, you know this. Okay, so I've performed for the All Blacks. I performed for the coach. I've done it over consecutive tests last season. It doesn't give you a right to claim that spot. But for me, if I'm Ian Foster, I go back to what I know, and those guys are proven in those jerseys, and therefore that's the combination I start the year with.
Yeah, look, I think that he's shown that quite regularly, that he knows the combination, he knows the players that he feels not only are loyal to him, they've been performers for him in the past, albeit it's been a bit of a rocky past, but he does tend to go to what he knows, and I think for the first test match of the year he will do that. Now let's make this statement right now between you and I, Marty, because I know you feel the same. The names we're throwing out here are not necessarily the names that we would start in this test match. These are the players that we think, because of the way Ian Foster thinks, he will start. Are we in agreement with that? Absolutely,
mate. So I'm picking Caleb on the left wing. I'm picking Narawa on the right wing because he was selected in the squad. Sean Stevenson wasn't. I've got Bowden at fullback, and I've got both Damien McKenzie and Stevenson on the bench.
Well, there you go. We've pretty much come to an agreement. We had no pre-banter about what this backline was going to be. The only fly in the ointment for me is I think he might start Damien McKenzie at fullback. I know what we've just said about he knows what he can get out of Bowden Barrett. He knows the reliability of him. And so in my mindset, you can put Bowden at fullback and you know what you're going to get from him in any test match. This is an opportunity to see where Damien McKenzie has progressed to in the last couple of years since you really have used him. So it's the perfect chance where Jordan's out and you're going to start Richie at 10. You know, should there be any problems, Bowden can come off the bench and fulfil either spot at 10 or 15. So my mindset is you've got to get Damien McKenzie out there and see whether or not he can produce the goods at fullback and he can be a World Cup fullback for the All Blacks. This is the opportunity, so I would go for him.
And Stevenson on the bench as opposed to starting because Narawa was selected. And yep.
Well, he has to, unless he's done a dramatic about turn on what he picked in his initial squad. And you rightly said Stevenson wasn't in that. So it would mean that somehow Stevenson miraculously in a couple of games or one game even has gone over the top of Narawa, who had a very good final himself. You don't see him going back on his original selection. So, yes, I agree. Stevenson might make the bench. Depends, again, on the Bowden factor. But you do need that backup 10. But you do have that with Mackenzie, Marty. So, do you know what I mean? Like, you could actually leave Bowden out. Mackenzie, if he needed to, moves to 10, and then you could have a bit more flexibility in the rest of your back reserves. Maybe a Dallas McLeod, like you say, Stevenson. And then I'd really like to see Cam Roygaard get an opportunity on the bench. This is the perfect test match for him to be blooded in, I believe, and see what he can offer this team.